Are you one of the millions of Americans wondering if those rumors about extra Social Security payments in June are actually true? What if I told you that recent legislative discussions could potentially put an additional $3,100 to $4,600 directly into your bank account, along with a $200 utility rebate that could help offset your rising energy costs? Before we dive deep into what this could mean for your financial future, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because we're about to break down everything you need to know about these proposed Social Security reforms that could dramatically impact your monthly income. The landscape of Social Security has been shifting dramatically over the past few months, and while many beneficiaries have been hearing whispers about potential payment increases, the reality is far more complex than what's being discussed in most circles. Recent congressional discussions have centered around what lawmakers are calling emergency supplemental payments designed to address the rising cost of living that has hit Social Security recipients particularly hard. These aren't your typical cost of living adjustments that we see annually, but rather targeted relief payments that would be distributed as lump sums to eligible beneficiaries during specific months, with June being highlighted as a potential distribution period. But here's where it gets interesting. And this is something most people aren't talking about. The proposed payment structure isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. Instead, the legislation being discussed would create a tiered system based on your current benefit amount, your filing age, and your overall financial situation. Those receiving the minimum Social Security benefits could see supplemental payments in the $3,100 range, while those who delayed retirement and are receiving maximum benefits could potentially receive up to $4,600 in additional funds. This isn't just speculation either, as the framework for these calculations has been outlined in preliminary budget discussions, though nothing has been finalized at the federal level yet. Now, you might be wondering how exactly these numbers were determined, and that's a crucial question that deserves a detailed answer. The proposed amounts are based on what economists are calling the Social Security gap analysis, which examines the difference between what current benefits provide in purchasing power compared to what they provided 5 years ago. When you factor in inflation rates, housing costs, medical expenses, and basic necessities, the analysis shows that today's Social Security recipients are effectively receiving significantly less value from their benefits than previous generations did at the same stage of their retirement. The $3,100 to $4,600 range represents an attempt to bridge approximately 60 to 70% of that purchasing power gap through these emergency payments. The utility rebate component is perhaps even more intriguing because it addresses one of the most pressing concerns facing fixed-income Americans today. Energy costs have skyrocketed across the country, with some regions seeing utility bill increases of 40 to 60% over the past 2 years. The proposed $200 utility rebate wouldn't be a direct cash payment but rather a credit system that would be applied directly to your utility bills, similar to how the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program currently operates, but expanded to include all Social Security recipients regardless of their income level. What makes this particularly significant is the timing mechanism being discussed for these payments. Rather than spreading the relief over an entire year, the current proposal suggests concentrating these payments into 3 specific months, with June being the first distribution period. This front-loaded approach is designed to provide immediate relief when many Americans are facing their highest utility bills due to increased air conditioning usage during summer months. The logic behind this timing is that bunching the payments together creates a more noticeable impact on recipients' budgets rather than spreading smaller amounts throughout the year where they might be absorbed into regular expenses without providing meaningful relief. However, and this is crucial to understand, these payments would not be automatic additions to your regular Social Security check. Instead, they would require separate applications through the Social Security Administration, similar to how stimulus payments were processed during the pandemic. This means that even if the legislation passes, recipients would need to take proactive steps to claim their additional benefits. The application process is being designed to be relatively straightforward, utilizing much of the same infrastructure that was developed for previous emergency payment programs, but it would still require beneficiaries to submit documentation proving their eligibility and current benefit status. The eligibility criteria being discussed are broader than many previous Social Security enhancement programs. Unlike means-tested benefits that exclude recipients based on assets or additional income, these proposed payments would be available to anyone currently receiving Social Security retirement, disability, or survivor benefits. This includes those who are still working while receiving benefits, those who have other retirement income, and even those who might not typically qualify for need-based assistance programs. The reasoning behind this inclusive approach is that the cost of living challenges being addressed affect all Social Security recipients, not just those at the lowest income levels. But here's what's really important to understand about the current status of these proposals. While the amounts and framework have been discussed extensively in congressional committees, actual passage of enabling legislation remains uncertain. Several versions of Social Security reform bills are currently working their way through Congress, each with slightly different approaches to addressing the purchasing power crisis facing beneficiaries. Some focus on permanent benefit increases, others on temporary emergency payments, and still others on hybrid approaches that combine both strategies. The political dynamics surrounding these proposals are complex because they involve significant federal spending at a time when budget constraints are a major concern for many lawmakers. Supporters argue that the payments are essential emergency relief that addresses a genuine crisis in retirement security. Critics worry about the long-term fiscal implications and whether temporary payments are the most effective way to address systemic issues with Social Security's purchasing power. This tension means that even if some form of additional payments is approved, the final amounts and distribution methods could differ significantly from what's currently being discussed. For those wondering about the timeline for when any of these payments might actually be distributed, the reality is that even if legislation passed tomorrow, the implementation timeline would likely extend well beyond June. The Social Security Administration would need time to update their systems, develop application processes, and coordinate with other agencies involved in the utility rebate component. Previous emergency payment programs have typically taken 3 to 6 months from legislative approval to actual distribution, which means that even optimistic scenarios might push actual payments into late summer or early fall. What can you do right now to prepare for these potential changes? First, ensure that your contact information with the Social Security Administration is current and accurate. Any additional payments would likely be distributed using the same direct deposit or mailing information currently on file for your regular benefits. Second, keep detailed records of your current utility bills and benefit statements, as these may be required documentation if application processes are implemented. Third, be extremely cautious about any websites, phone calls, or organizations claiming they can help you access these payments immediately or for a fee, as these are likely scams taking advantage of the uncertainty surrounding these proposals. The broader implications of these discussions extend beyond the immediate financial relief they might provide. They represent a growing recognition among policymakers that the current Social Security system may not be adequately addressing the realities of modern retirement costs. Whether or not these specific proposals become reality, they're driving important conversations about how Social Security benefits should be calculated, adjusted, and distributed in an era of rapidly changing economic conditions. If you found this breakdown helpful and want to stay informed about developments in Social Security reform, make sure you're subscribed to our channel because we'll be tracking these proposals as they move through Congress and providing updates as soon as new information becomes available. What questions do you have about these potential payments? And how would additional Social Security benefits impact your financial planning? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video if it helped clarify these complex proposals for you.